Hey everyone, my name is Emmanuel Knafo. I'm one of the founders of DevOps Shield, which is an innovative cybersecurity platform for DevOps. In a previous video, we basically installed the DevOps Shield security scanner, which is available on the Azure DevOps marketplace, in order to scan an Azure DevOps organization for including projects and repositories for best practices or recommended practices, especially around misconfigurations in the DevOps platform or even security issues around DevOps. In that previous video, what we did is we had the permissions to install an Azure DevOps extension, which is usually someone with the role project collection admin that can do that. What if in your organization you don't have those rights? Then what you could do is basically run a simple Docker run command instead of installing the extension. And that's what we're going to try to explain how to do in this video. All right, so let me open up that same, so we have this repository called OSS Juice Shop, which is basically an OWASP application that's insecure. And we saw in the previous video that we were able to install that extension, the DevOps Shield extension, which we could find right here. Right here. So what if we don't have the rights to install this? Well, we can go to the marketplace, and this is the extension. It does mention at the bottom of the extension, README, if you will, or documentation, that there is an alternative approach. If you cannot install the Azure DevOps extension, but you still want to run the DevOps Shield CLI in a YAML pipeline, then you could do it this way, just with a simple, basically Docker run command. You could do this for an Ubuntu agent or a Linux agent or a Windows agent. There's just a small variation if you do one or the other. Since in the last video we did it for an Ubuntu-based agent, why don't we try it with a Windows agent this time? So I'm going to copy this code right here, this pipeline code. And basically we're going to grab, if you notice from Docker Hub, the DevOps Shield, the latest nano server container for DevOps Shield. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Coming back to that same project and the same repository, I'm basically going to create a new pipeline. So let me do that again. You can either click on Setup Build right here, that'll generate a new pipeline, or you go into Pipelines right here and do New Pipeline. And now pick the repository. It could be a brand new project or an existing one. Let me just go ahead and search for the OSS one that we were working on. And I'm going to start with a starter pipeline right here. Now I'm going to paste the entire code as is with no trigger, running a Windows agent on the Microsoft hosted Windows agent. And as you could see, I'm simply doing a Docker run with the nano server version of the container. And then I'm manually publishing the artifacts that get generated. I usually like to put my pipelines in a special folder called .azure DevOps / I might want to put it in a subfolder. In my case, maybe I'll just call it DevOps Shield subfolder. And let's rename the pipeline a little bit, Azure Pipelines, or maybe even not even Azure Pipelines. Let's call it DevOps Shield Security Scan. And no, we want to specify that we're not, or no ADO extension, that we're not using the ADO extension and the DevOps Shield security scanner task. So that's how I'd like to save it. Let me go ahead and directly save and run it. Now, normally, again, you wouldn't publish this directly to the main branch. This is a demo environment, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And let's just do a save and run right here. And it's as simple as that. So I'm now running a new pipeline. And notice it was with the Windows agent. I don't know if it kind of went very quickly, but it's with the Windows agent. I could probably have done a no checkout. We don't really need to check out this solution. In any case, it's now running, or it's basically running the DevOps Shield security scanner by pulling the Docker image. So the Docker image is from Docker Hub. Let me just remind you. So DevOps Shield, you have some documentation here, and as well the tags. And we're basically downloading the latest Nano Server long-term support container version 2022. So that's what's happening. Let me go back to that pipeline. So as you could see, it did download it right on the bottom on line 128. It downloaded the latest container. And eventually it's basically going to do a scan. Sometimes, yeah, so this is the pipeline running. And again, don't worry about some of these red. It's basically, it doesn't have certain access. So remember, this execution is running on the system access token. So depending on what that token has access to, you might have fixed you might have restricted some access to that token. So you may or may not see more or less things, right? Basically. And if you notice, it's actually already done, and it did find, if I scroll a little bit, quite a few stuff there. Let me even just do a Control N. But basically what it did is it found a bunch of issues. Notice this is a typical issue that and gave you, the resource, the severity. This one happens to be a low one. And recommendations on how to remediate or resolve the issue, if you will. All of that got done, produced, and then basically outputted as a CSV and a SARIF file. So if I look at the scan right here, and I look at the published scans right here, you can actually go ahead and download either the SARIF, which is essentially a JSON, it's a standard JSON file, or the CSV file, and maybe open it in Excel. Now, if you're lucky, I'm assuming you're unable to install extensions in the first place, so you might not have installed the SARIF extension produced by Microsoft DevLabs, right? Which it's referred to in the documentation right here. This one, this SARIF SAS scans extension. So assuming you couldn't install the DevOps Shield extension, you might not have been able to install this extension. However, it might already exist in your organization, in which case you would also have the scans tab right here. And that scans is basically rendering the SARIF scan. So you could see, notice I have 149 issues to deal with. That's quite a bit. And we see each one of these issues right here. We could basically even click on them. There's the documentation, for example, the Microsoft documentation that shows you, well, this is variable group secret should only be linked to a key vault, for example, right? This is a high risk finding. So you can, for instance, go to the repository or the Microsoft documentation that shows you, explains a little bit more the vulnerability. There's a few links sometimes. So I see there's one more link right here. Tells you how to, modify a resource, a variable group and so on, right? So it takes you to the relevant documentation. And you can also, I'll open this in a separate tab, you can go directly into the resource itself. So here it's referring to a variable group called AI OpenAI API var 002. So if I right click this and open this up in a new tab, it took me exactly to that resource. So I can basically fix the issue. In this case, it happens to be, hey, I'll need to link this to an Azure Key Vault because there's a secret there and so on. So you want to be careful with this kind of stuff. So this is basically how you can remediate all these security vulnerabilities, keep safe, make sure that your DevOps organization is properly configured, no misconfigurations, you're not leaving any holes, and you're following security holes, and you're following recommended practice. Thanks for listening to this video. I encourage you to try out the DevOps Shield CLI from Docker Hub. There's a bunch of other videos on our YouTube channel. You can also see the full application, which allows you to have that full overview by basically going to demo.devopsshield.com. There's even another way to do it. You could click on any one of these links and it will take you to the demo environment at demo.devopsshield.com. And all you need to do, just follow this hint. DevOps login with DevOps Shield, DevOps Shield. And you can actually see a live environment right here with, similar kinds of findings, just, a little bit more visual, and it's holistic as well. It has all of your organizations in all of your tenants and so on. So really encourage you to look at that. You can easily follow the Docker Hub link as well from there, as you could see. And you can also share your feedback. So open this up and share your feedback right here. It only takes 2 minutes. It's pretty short. There's only 9 questions. And you could optionally leave your email if you want. And finally, you can get the full version and apply an app registration and so on to it by getting it from the Microsoft Azure Marketplace. So you can just go ahead and open that as well. And there it is. All right. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you and even hearing you either on our GitHub or through the product surveys, or even leaving a comment in the Azure DevOps Marketplace or the Azure Marketplace, or even on our GitHub channel. All right, thanks for watching.